giving his speech, Man Behind the Mask.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
How many of you saw my performance last week? For those of you that don't know, I came up here and gave a speech in a whole Batman costume. So, why not give a little information about Batman? Why not tell you a little bit more about Batman, since I decided to dress as him? But to do that, we need to take a trip back in time. Back, and back, all the way to 1939. Superman had just come out, and the world was ecstatic. This was the first ever superhero, it was a new thing, and publishers wanted more. We want more superheroes. Well, Bob Kane, an aspiring artist, decided to take the challenge. He wanted to create the next big thing. He wanted to create the next big superhero. But how was he going to do it? It was Superman. It was the first. He was the best. Well, he looked around his environment. What could he do? He looked for inspiration around him. And he found it in three big ways. One, Zorro, the vigilante who went out and saved people, but acted the fool in public. The diagram of Leonardo da Vinci describing a flying machine made of bat wings. And a movie called The Bat Whispers, where the bat would avoid the police and terrorize citizens. Three characteristics you think of Batman. He always avoids the police, he's branded as a criminal and terrorizes the cowardly. He has a bat plane, and he always acts the fool in public. So he's built his characteristics, he has them, now he needs to make the look. And he sketched it, and this is how it looked. Imagine Batman with a red suit, a domino mask, like if his mask was Robin. Does this sound like Batman? Does this sound like the Batman that you know and love? No. And the reason for that is because of a man called Bill Finger. Now Bill Finger met Bob Kane at a party, and Bob Kane decided to let him in and work with him. So when Bob Kane showed him the sketch of Batman in the red suit, he was like, Bob, this isn't gonna work. What? He's too bright. What makes you think a bat is bright? No, he has to be dark. He needs to be black and gray. Okay. So they changed him. No longer red, he's black and gray. Bob, he doesn't look like a bat at all. Why does he have that little mask? Why don't you give him a cow? That's how this came about. Okay, we have the cow. We have the black and gray suit. Bob, this guy's gonna leave fingerprints all over the place. Why don't you give him gloves? Okay, we're gonna give him gloves. Bob, why did you draw this guy with two bat wings coming out of his back? It's gonna get in the way of his fights. You're right. So erase the wings, gave him a cape. Does this sound a little bit more familiar? So, the current look of Batman, you can thank Bill Finger. Because Bob Kane would have just made a carbon copy of Superman. So they have their characteristics. They have the look. Then came the big day. We're going to publish the story. We're going to debut Batman. Detectives Comics number 27 comes out. The debut of Batman, and he's a hit. He is a hit, ladies and gentlemen. While Superman was the big blue Boy Scout, always acting great, Batman was a bit darker. He showed no regret for hurting the criminals. He showed a darker edge than Superman, whereas Superman was more lighthearted. They loved it. And you know who came up with the story? Bill Singer. He wrote the story while Bob Kane did the art. But then came the issue that really sold Batman, that really made the crowd, the audience, connect with Batman. Detective Comics number 33, the origin story. The story that we all know. Little Bruce Wayne is walking down the alley with his mom and dad, and they get approached by a mugger. And he sees his parents killed before his eyes. That one origin story sold Batman. We all know it. We've seen it over and over and over again. Such an, not so much inspiring story, because nobody wants that, but it's such an iconic story that Bill Finger came up with and Bob Kane drew beautifully. So, this one event, the desire to make one superhero, created a whole legacy of Batman. From the days of Adam West, where he ran around in a blue costume with his shark repellent, to the days of Tim Burton and Michael Keaton, where they decided to throw away Adam West's interpretation and make a darker Batman, a more gothic Batman. To Tim Bruce's cartoon animation of Batman, for those of you who grew up with the Batman cartoons. To the current day of Christopher Nolan and Christian Bale. Or the more realistic take, the $1 billion take. This, if I'm not mistaken, The Dark Knight was the first superhero movie to make those $1 billion. So one simple idea, just look around for inspiration. Created a franchise that has lasted this year 75 years. How many of us do you think will create an idea that will last 75 years or more? That's the thing. You need to think that you can. You need to think that you need to put all your efforts and thoughts behind what you believe in life. Because you never know what impact you're going to leave. An aspiring artist, an aspiring writer, biggest names in comic books, may not be known by the general population, but everybody knows their creation. So always work at what you're doing. Always believe that you can do it, because you never know. 75 years down the line, we may be reading about your creation or watching your creation. It may be in our textbooks. Who knows? Just keep at it. And let's see what the future brings. Thank you.